Good morning, everyone. I think everyone, all council is there. No one has to be excused. The minutes for, we have people in the audience? Kevin?
Correct. There is some people in the council chambers.
Okay. And they're watching us on the screen.
That's right.
We can have them introduce themselves if you want.
Okay, we can do that. We'll, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Natalie Sturch, and I'm here with my husband and our daughter for our permit application, I guess.
Okay, well, thank you and welcome.
Thank
I think you can probably see the pictures of all of us. We usually go through an introduction for the council, but I think you can see the pictures and the names. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll dispense with the council introduction. Well, thanks for coming. Our minutes have been circulated from our last meeting, and how would you like to handle them? Lionel?
I'll move acceptance as presented.
Lionel moves as presented. Are there any questions? All in favor? That is passed. Are there any post-agenda items? Seeing none, could we have an adoption of the agenda, please? UB moves. All in favor? That is also passed. And we'll go to the development report. There are 5 items for the permitted use report. Are there any questions of staff on that? Seeing none, we'll take that as information, and we'll move on to the development reports. And Shanali, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Development permit 2020013 is the approval of an existing shop with a second dwelling. The applicant isn't requesting any variances. The applicant is requesting a holding tank to service the dwelling, as they have stated that it's a part-time residence for guests and farm business meetings. There was no response from adjacent landowners. There was no issues from staff, and we're recommending approval with conditions.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions? Alan?
Yeah, just for information's sake, it says that they're requesting a holding tank, but what is there right now? Is it an existing shop and residence? Just curious if it's a pump out or if there's some other means.
It is, well, it was just built, so it's like it was built probably within the last year, and it's always been serviced with a holding tank.
Okay, anything else that you'd like to know? Callie?
My question is, any idea why didn't come in ahead of time to be permitted? Or is there an education piece there that you think next time it'll happen?
I'm not exactly sure why they didn't come in for a permit. They also put an addition and a garage on their house without a permit, so we're also permitting that. So it's, I would assume that it's an education thing.
Mm-hmm. So just a follow-up question through the chair. Is it common or is it a practice anywhere else to have a deterrent from doing business this way?
Hi. There are in other municipalities fines that are put in place for, for developments that happen without a permit. So that is something. We have it in our fee schedule that if development happens without a permit, that they are charged double the fee. But that's definitely something we can look into when we update the land use bylaw and how we want to deal with that.
Thanks, Maria.
Lionel?
Yeah, just a question about the second dwelling request. We at one time were very cautious about second dwellings. It seems like, have we changed our land use that much that we automatically accept them?
I think we have a more progressive MPC, Lionel.
Quite possibly. I'm just asking.
No, that's just my own editorial of
Okay.
it. Go ahead, whoever wants. Does anybody else want to answer that?
Sure, there is provisions in the land use bylaw that does allow for a second dwelling, or as you've seen in the past, a third dwelling, and that's always at the discretion of MPC because a second dwelling is discretionary use. So you can always make the decision to allow it or to not.
Kelly, and then Anne Marie.
So I'm stuck on this business of automatic approval after the fact. I understand the idea of development permit is so that progress can be visualized to ensure safety. Inside builds are to standards. So how do we guarantee that that is at this point? There is no way, is there?
Shauna Lee, go ahead.
Kelly, you cut out a little bit when you were talking, but I think that I got your question. They will have to get, we found out about the second dwelling through an electrical inspection. So they did have their electrical inspected, and they will need to have the rest of it, like the building, the septic, all of that will have to be inspected. Unfortunately, they can only inspect what they can see. So what Park Enterprises does is they do make a note on their inspections that they have been out there to inspect, but the walls were closed or whatever the situation may be if they're unable to see everything.
Marie, go ahead.
Yeah. So a few comments just to add to what Kelly was saying. We need to educate people, and we had discussions about putting a permit or asking for a permit on everything. Well, that would simplify a lot of these problems. But maybe we should start or look at contractors. If somebody's going out there to build the second dwelling, the guest house, later on we'll have a dugout, whatever people are doing, the contractors maybe need to be educated a little better too. And I don't know if we can directly contact them or use social media to do it, but just something to keep in mind for staff. And then I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Any further questions? Any further discussion? Then I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is passed. On to the next one, Shauna Lee.
Development permit 2020032 is for the approval of an existing moved-in building to be used as a shelter. The applicants are not requesting any variances. The applicant has submitted photos of the building. The shelter is used by the landowners in addition to their RV. Therefore, the shelter will require a building permit. It's not considered a dwelling as it does not have cooking facilities, a bathroom, or a bedroom. There's a wood stove in the shelter, which will also have to be inspected. They've submitted a building permit for that. The landowners utilize their RV for their cooking and sleeping. Alberta Environment did respond, and they have no concerns. There was no response from adjacent landowners. There was no issues with staff, and we're recommending approval with conditions.
Thank you. Questions from MPC? Helen? And then Tracy?
Now, since it's not a dwelling, since it doesn't have the kitchen and the bathroom and so on, would it not be considered an agricultural building since it's used as a shelter? Just curious for staff, perhaps.
No, it wouldn't be an agricultural building because an agricultural building wouldn't be for habitation of people. It would be for equipment or animals, so it wouldn't be an agricultural.
Go ahead, Tracy.
My question was more along the lines of why this was brought forward. Like, why are we reviewing this at this point?
It was brought to our department. Sorry, it was brought to our department through assessment.
So is there a change in the property assessment? Like, is it being looked at as recreational or something instead of agriculture, or he was just out doing assessments and seeing this building? Is that?
That's correct. He was out doing assessments and noticed that there was a new structure on the parcel, so he brought it to our attention.
Okay, great. Kelly?
I was just thinking I would make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Moves to approve as suggested. Favor. Opposed? That is passed. On to our third permit, please.
Development permit 2020034 is the approval of an existing dugout with a variance to the setback to the road right-of-way. The applicant constructed the dugout 75 feet from the road. Staff contacted the landowner, explained the setback regulation resulting in the development permit. The applicant is requesting a 25-foot variance from the north and the west. There was no issues with staff. There was no response from adjacent landowners, and we're recommending approval with conditions.
And part of those conditions was I can't remember now, if there was damage to the road, that he would still be responsible?
That's correct.
Questions, please. Seeing none, yes, Lionel.
I was just going to make a motion to approve.
Okay, we'll accept that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is passed. Our last one, please.
Development permit 202040 is for the construction of a covered front step with a variance to the front yard setback and an attached back deck. The parcel is contained within the Castles Road area structure plan, which includes a 25-foot front yard setback. The existing house was constructed 25 feet from the property line. The applicants would like to construct a covered landing and a set of stairs. They were requesting a 6-foot variance, bringing the 25-foot setback down to 19. There was no issues or concerns from staff. There was no response from adjacent landowners. The City of Brooks responded that they do not have any issues or concerns. We're recommending approval with conditions, and Mr. and Mrs. Sturch are here to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Molly?
I have no question, but I would put a motion to approve.
Molly moves to approve. Any further discussion? And I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is passed. And again, a thank you for the applicants for coming. We always appreciate when you show some interest in what is happening. We have no post-agenda items. In camera, is there anything for question period? Brian.
Well, my question is in regards to the previous and other development permits that we're dealing with that are done after the fact. And I'm just curious if there's a better process that we can do by communicating with our public as far as what is required when it comes to this, and that so we can mitigate that and maybe put some timelines are as far as the that we are going to start enforcing the double the permit fees or whatever we actually have in our, because I know that sometimes it's reviewed and because others aren't charged we don't do it. I'm not exactly sure what our planning department has done, but I think that we need to maybe have some more education out there as far as how the process is. There's other places, and I don't want to name them not in this province. I'm sure there is, but I'm aware of one journeyman guy that did some work in a different province, and the province or the jurisdiction made him. He had a permit. He had to. But the permitting company or the inspection company didn't show up. He took a ton of pictures of the work he did. They showed up and they made him rip the floor out to redo the work. And he had all the documentation and everything, but that's how anal that some other places are. And I'm not suggesting we do that for a minute, but I think that there has to be an awareness out there that there's a process here that we need to fulfill when it comes to making sure the work's done properly and making sure that it's done with permitted uses and being able to justify what we're doing as far as our planning. So I'm not suggesting coming down with a hammer, but I think we maybe need to tighten stuff up a little bit. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. And I think as already been mentioned, I guess on the rewrite of the bylaws, maybe that's really something we should have a good discussion on. And I don't think we should have it when we're trying to do permits. We should be doing it as a separate item, a separate standalone thing, so that it doesn't become connected with one particular permit. But we've had that discussion within the confines of what we're doing. Like today, the questions are being asked. So I think when we do discuss finally with what is being written in the bylaws, that we make sure that topic is covered. Any other questions? If not, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you everyone for their cooperation.